Okay, so it's 5 o'clock. How's the second day of Ignite for you? Yeah? 5 o'clock, and I've got that much energy still. This could be a fired up crowd. Okay, there's a couple seats, like right here in the middle. Just kidding. There are a few if you want to pepper into the middle. Real quick, who attended the foundation session yesterday at 1:30, 2 o'clock? That Mark Snover and I had about 5 minutes, 4 minutes, maybe 3. Okay, so it looks like about a third of the room has already seen what I was. They asked me to go ahead and run through a set of slides at the beginning again that we rushed for your foundation. Now, I'm going to walk through those so that those in the room that didn't hear it, I'm going to walk through those and give you just some insight into it. I'll probably pepper some more flavor since I'll spend more than 15 seconds on a slide. So for those that have seen it, it will be a bit of a repeat on certain sections. But it's okay. So today with System Center, we're really thinking through, we wanted to talk through the overall roadmap of where we're headed and what's coming next. And so as most of you are funneling in, you could see this just massive wires and laptops and a line of people. And so what I thought we'd do is just kind of do a pretty demo-heavy session for a roadmap. So we're going to give that a shot and see how it goes on just even the roadmap. And the intent for the discussion is this is the kickoff for what's going to happen for the rest of the week. So every one of the PMs that come up and walk through their area, there are multiple sessions after that go on through the week that you're going to hear them talk about and we'll have listed at the end. But this is just a teaser for a whole another 60 minutes of just that area. So we're going to pack it in. We're going to try to give you as much as we can on the visibility of that. And then know that you're going to have multiple sessions. So today we're going to walk through each products. Config Manager, Virtual Machine Manager, DPM, SCOM, Orchestrator, and SMA. We're going to walk, did I miss any? Service Manager. We're going to talk through demos of those. I'll talk through each. I got some Service Manager fans up here. Okay, good. Hey, you forgot Service Manager. What? We'll talk about that. We also will do a section where we talk about OMS, the online stuff that we're building, and we're going to just party in those demos for probably 15 minutes or so just in OMS. So it's going to be relatively demo heavy. I'm going to kind of bring this along and carry it as the MC up front, and so we'll walk through that. So my name's Jeremy Winter, and I'm on charge, one of the on point from the program management side of the house for our engineering of the System Center suite. And so when you think about what we do inside the data center and how we bring management to you, this is what my team and I worry about every day and every night. So we run services too. We've got a lot of experience running services within the team, including with myself and from history. And we also run services now 24/7 with our online stuff that we've been doing for the last a year and a half. So we know what it's like to be living on the front line. We know what it's like to have our escalations seems like they always land about a Friday evening and run through the weekend. I don't know why that is. So anyway, I think hopefully you'll enjoy the session and give you some good insight. We've got a packed agenda, so we'll get running through this. Okay, so we heard me talk about this yesterday a little bit just in quick, but we realize just a ton of costs, a ton of challenges that you're sitting inside, whether it's the overall costs and complexities in your environment, the amount of pressure that you have inside. You're just going to hear this time and time again, so I'm going to speed us up on that a bit. But what we really want to do, and when I sit down and listen to a lot of your feedback directly, it's just, man, I need something that can give me immediate value. And we're seeing this change in the industry quite a bit around management. I mean, the amount of new innovation that's happening that you can just go get out on the internet or go get out of open source and just pull down, it's immense, and it's really changing the way that we're thinking about our management stack and how we can help provide you value up front. We also want to be able to get insights and then turn it to action. So we've heard a lot about, hey, I got all this analytics and we can get this visibility, but then I have to find another tool, or I got to hope that company and the other company work together so that I can take automated action. And so we started to look at how can I take insights and help you take action across your environment quickly. And then just give me flexibility. I want to be able to use the tools. I was just having a conversation, I had many of them on my way, just kind of walking around, and the amount of tools that you can pop in, what you're using for Windows versus what you're using on your Linux side. I'm going to use some Puppet, I'm going to use some Chef, I'm going to use these other areas with Docker. And that may seem weird to hear Microsoft talking about these other solutions, but the reality is these solutions are here and they're good solutions. And so you're going to see us look at how in the future we can embrace these solutions and help them be successful and help us manage in a true heterogeneous environment. And so now I know we've said this before in some sense, but it's going to give us, I'll let you be the judge in the next couple of years on how we do on this. And so just know these are the things that are guiding where we're headed. Okay, you saw me talk about this yesterday, or a third of you did. So I'm going to do a quick recap on this, is the shifting landscape that we see out there. Now, this isn't something that I'm just dreaming up in my office at night and at work, or in my office at home at night. This is something we've spent a lot of time just listening and talking to you. I mean, you could see us walking and talking. You're going to see us in your sessions later on through the week with surveys. We're going to be asking to contact you if you're willing to let us talk to you. And this is just all about us as my organization tries to connect deep with you to understand what you need. We're not going to be pushing you on our technology. We're not going to try to sell you on the greatest feature that we just dreamed up. We're just trying to understand where you're coming from and what you need from us. And so when you see these surveys coming out through the sessions, the rest, we take them seriously. Literally, there's a competition right now with the team on how many cards they can hand out for a bottle of scotch, is it? And these are the types of things that we're really trying to make sure that we hear from you so we know what you're doing. During the holidays, we did a push where we reached out to over 600 customers in 6 weeks. And the team did it over the phone. They did face-to-face where they could. I did phone calls myself with some of our top 25 paying accounts. And what we did is just listen. And if many of you were on those calls, we appreciate the time you spent with us on that, because it helps us think through what we're doing. And out of those 600 plus data points that we're able to pull, Management as a Service is one of those that popped up. Now you're hearing Microsoft and Satya really push us as cloud first. That's absolutely there, and we'll continue to bet on the on-premises technology too. But Management as a Service, we saw that 60% of the customers that we were chatting with were looking for solutions from the cloud. If you take our government, our financial, for those that have the regulatory issues or requirements, specific countries, or internet connectivity in some of the energy sectors, you take them out of that 60%, it jumps up to 74%. So we see this happening on a much faster pace, and we want to make sure that we've got solutions for you. Now we know we need to deliver them both, and so we'll continue that. Data analytics is another big one that we see. We see it everywhere. When we walked in, you could see analytics on the last group with SQL Server and how they're doing it. It's just a sheer amount of information that's coming in to the environment. And this is causing it's not a cool new technology, it actually changes the way we think about management. And so I don't need these big heavy data warehouses. I don't need to go configure and just look for this one error 4672 for you security guys, right? I can just let the data flow. And when in the past, we couldn't, when I was running some of the other services in MSN and Windows Live, we just couldn't consume that amount of data. I was just trying to make sure I could keep the amount of data our consumers were using. And so now we can just have pipes with this hyperscale Azure that just allows us to consume terabytes of data a day and be able to store it in a much cheaper way with some of our Azure Blob technology there in the back that just came out of that session. So that's really changed the way we're thinking about how we re-architect. We're thinking about how we're thinking about our management infrastructure completely. Microservices and containers, you saw us talk about that both in the foundation session. Mark and Jeffrey talked about that. You saw us announce it in the keynotes. And this is an important thing that's, again, for those that weren't there yesterday, I think this really changes the way we start thinking about IT. A lot of isolation. I can bring in the individual components and pop them in these microservices and spin them up. They're very fluid. And so you're not just worrying about one, you've got many, and you don't have to worry about them as much. but they're fluid. And so we're thinking about how we can capture that amount of data and how we bring it together. And then lastly, as I just move everything to the cloud. We've got things, we see a lot of migrations that are happening. It's our bet, and we already see a lot of the stuff from our customers that believe that and a lot of the analysts as well that believe coming over the next 10 years we will have more instances running in the cloud than we will inside your data centers. Now, if we believe that to be true, we'll see. Let's see how this unfolds. But for Microsoft and management, I want to make sure that we have a management solution for you. We had some customers from the energy sector that said, look, we need the on-premises technology. We need to keep inside our data centers for these. Yet for those workloads that I want to put out on the cloud, yeah, sure, let me use a cloud service to manage those so that I don't have that additional infrastructure. So these are the things that we see that are shifting inside our environment. And these shifts haven't been, they're not new to us, they're not new to you. Some of you may be new to you. Look, I'm starting to see just a difference in my own age. But I've seen all these, from desktops to the server proliferation to where we're headed with the private cloud as we move from virtualization into private cloud. And the core that I just want to hit with this, and the main point is, which is a little different from what I said yesterday, is we're a partner that you can bet with. You're going to see a lot of point solutions come and go. But we're here, we're going to help you take those solutions, and we're going to help there be a consistent partner that not only will be there with you long term, but if you have issues, know that we're going to stand behind you and work with you on it. And there's a handful of customers that we chatted with earlier, right, that you're in the room, that we've worked through quite some escalations together where my own engineers flew right to you, and we worked through it, and that's something that we stand behind, not behind as well as our own customer support and MCS, but within my own engineering teams will stand behind the work that we build. And so this is something that we'll continue to push forward. But the other two key points that I'll land on this slide is System Center. We will continue to deliver System Center on premises. We will continue to deliver all the components that are inside your System Center suite today. So there's been a lot of questions. As Service Manager, as Virtual Machine Manager, what are you doing with Orchestrator, all these core pieces? They are in. We will continue to deliver them. They'll be there in 2016. You've got a tech preview that's coming in the next week. We'll do another tech preview that's coming again in the fall. And so this is a core part for us. We're going to rely on our partners to help us continue that space forward for you. So you may be saying like, hey, I really need some modernized HTML5 experiences on side. Or I really need incident management as packaged together with some other solutions. These are things that we're leaning heavily with our partners and working closely with them. And I want them to be, to work, and I'm really pleased with with the solutions that they've built. And so just know that we will continue to keep this in here. The trip I just took out to Europe, there was a lot of questions around Orchestrator. Man, there's a lot of automation really starting to take off. And they've been building the runbooks inside with Orchestrator. And now we've got the new PowerShell module, and there's a bit of, is Orchestrator going to go away? Or am I going to be able to have it in the next version and move at my own pace? And our plan is to have it in the next version and let you move at your own pace, but we'll do some migration. So I know I'm jumping ahead on some of your stuff, Eamon, but it's just. And then we've got the management services, which we'll go spend some time on. Okay, so there's another key point I wanted you guys to really get that we didn't talk. This is, I really want to drive home on this. So there you're seeing System Center 2016. It'll ship with Windows Server 16, so no, they may oscillate, but where the plan is to, on dates, but they will ship together. And the core is, who's been downloading the latest URs on the 2012 R2 stacks? Okay, we've got about I'd like to say a half, but about a third. Who's on 2012 R2? Oh, yeah, I like it. You should be downloading the URs. Here's the point that we saw last year, this time, we were really seeing many of you still in your migrations to 2012 R2. We're talking into the 30% is what we thought our customer base was. We're definitely well over the 50% mark, and that just validates it just looking at the informal polls on the in the room. Did you kind of notice I'm a data guy a little bit? So So we've been doing quarterly updates, and this is something I really want you guys to think about, and this will be something that we move forward with, whether it's in Config Manager or any of the other components. We will start to be on a much more frequent basis of doing drops. And the reason for that is so that we can get drops into your hands of improvements and new features in a much faster cadence. Now, in the past, you'd say, man, don't send me all this new stuff down. I can't keep up with it. But that's often because you had to do these heavy, heavy migrations. We changed the agent architecture. We changed the management server architecture. And so you'd have to almost do these in place. And so what we've really been working on over the last year and a half is to make sure we get these quarterly, or these URs, dialed in so they're much like an in-place upgrade. And so we're able to jam new features down for you that you need. I won't steal your thunder, Eric. And that was my example. I'll wait. And you're able to do improvements as well. So we did a ton of improvements in this last UR6, a lot of performance, some big, big performance gains in the Service Manager front, especially in pulling data from other systems, which is, we've heard, has been something you've needed. So we'll do these quarterly updates and continue to go forward with those quarterly updates. Why this is important? We want you to continue to pull those quarterly updates down. Now, you can roll them out how you want, but we do want you to get those things out and deployed. The other piece is important is as you start to go look at the next versions, like 2016 or later, you're used to getting these whole new books written. It's like, hey, here's the new book to 2016, and you've got to relearn and all this. And that's not our intent. Our intent for this round is to start to give you these quarterly updates and make sure you get a stable build in the 2016 that you can then in-place upgrade and then continue on to the next, and we'll keep doing this. And so that's part of the design that we're headed to. Okay, and then on the bottom, we've been cranking these management services in flight, and we'll go through and demo some of these. But these management services are really important for us as we think long-term. We think they're really important for you, especially since the majority of you told us you wanted them, so we're building them. And the thing that I'll call out here is the engineering organization is flying at a phenomenal pace. The amount of innovation, the amount of development that's going on is near real time here as well. We've done work in our build processes to actually be able to come in, take feedback directly from the user voice. Who's used user voice in our products? Okay, we've got like 2% of the room. We need to increase our user voice. But we'll take this feedback directly in from the user voice on our services. We'll give you feedback whether it's coming or we're working on it or it's committed, and then the teams will be able to rev quickly. And so we're seeing upwards to sometimes 270 deployments or check-ins directly to the service, which brings new features out to you. I mean, there's times I've had customers say, hey, I'd like feature X tweaked. I don't like the way it works this way. I think it'd be better if we did it just a little bit differently. And within a week and a half, it's out and changed. Man, I just can't do that on the on-premises. That cadence, I can't tweak it and play with it that much. I can't say, hey, which storage do you want? You want SANS or direct attach first? What next feature do you want me to add? And then you'll get it in a month or two. So that's why we really like and we're innovating over in this space. So pretty agile team. Okay. So when we think about management all up, these core pillars remain. These are core things that we think are important to management, whether it's monitoring, automation, provisioning. These are just core pillars that are with us today. But to help think about those core pillars are really what are the main things that you'll see coming down in System Center 2012, and what you're seeing with System Center 2016 as well. And so you see a lot of investment, which we're going to talk about on the Config Manager side, on helping you in the desktop, and as that changes to a modern workforce era, how to manage your mobile devices and your PCs, both on Config Manager as well as with the Intune service. You're seeing us continue to help improve the provisioning of our private clouds and how we can do that both on our Hyper-V stack, with Virtual Machine Manager and SM. You're seeing us think about how we can improve your business agility with SM. Now, we do this ourselves and with partners. How we can automate and deploy. I'm not going to just keep reading these. Your backup and your last, that monitoring visibility. Okay? So we're going to go walk through some demos that are just going to basically spin through this circle and flip through this. So Managing mobile devices and PCs. This is where Config Manager really comes into the picture, especially for the desktop and those known mobile devices as we think through it. When you think about the value prop of what we have here, this is, you use this day in and day out, both inside your desktops as well as the data center. It's about inventory. I've got my compliance. I think about my configuration state. I've got my updates and patches. And so I'm going to bring up Aaron, who's going to give us a little insight to what's coming next on Config Manager and do a little demo in this. Aaron.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Thanks, buddy. Okay, so let's talk about what's next.
Yeah. So thanks. My name is Aaron Chakowski. I'm a senior program manager on the Configuration Manager team. And we're really excited to be talking with you all this week about all the new investments that we're making in Configuration Manager coming up. Like Jeremy said, Configuration Manager is our primary focus for both Config Manager and Intune is really on the desktop space and the mobile device space. So some of our schedules will be a little different than what you'll see from System Center All Up. We'll still be aligning with the System Center releases. But for example, we actually have a tech preview of our vNext available today. So that was announced yesterday, and you can go out today and download an evaluation of Config Manager vNext tech preview. The general availability of that release then will be available in the fourth quarter of this year, of 2015. We'll still align with System Center next year in 2016, along with the release of Server. But really, the core of why we're releasing a little early is that Config Manager vNext is designed to deliver the best in-class experience for managing Windows 10 and all the new features that will come along with it. So we're really working hard to try and align our schedules with the Windows release, especially on the desktop. Now, our new release of Configuration Manager, our vNext that's coming later this year, will absolutely support in-place upgrade from existing versions of Configuration Manager 2012. We've heard that feedback loud and clear from the past, so we've made sure that will be an upgrade. And then once you're on our vNext, very similar to what Jeremy was talking about in terms of always keeping up to date, once you're on our vNext, that will then deliver the ability to apply add-ons on a regular basis. So you'll always get some continual features sort of streamed down. We've got a ton of other sessions that are going on this week that are going to talk about a lot of these features in much more detail. A couple ones that I wanted to note, Mark and Vlad from our team did a great session yesterday on sort of what's new and upcoming with Config Manager and Intune, and that recording is now available. And then Mark and Jason are doing a session tomorrow specifically on managing Windows 10 using Config Manager and Intune. So that's right after lunch tomorrow. And then I'll do a quick pitch for my own session tomorrow afternoon at 5 o'clock, and that's specifically on what's new with operating system deployment. Speaking of which, I want to take a time now to get in and demo one of the new features that we have as soon as I unlock my workstation. And I'm on. Yep. One of the new features that we have coming in Config Manager vNext around Windows 10 upgrade. While the existing versions of Config Manager with a service pack that's coming out very soon will support the basic scenario, the value add of upgrading to vNext is that we're going to have a really tight integrated, really rich experience around being able to deploy an upgrade of Windows 10. So instead of going through a classic OS deployment and wiping the system and capturing user state with a bunch of tools, you can just deploy an upgrade, and that will upgrade the OS and leave all the applications, all the users' data and settings. So here is the Config Manager console. And I've already gone through and added a Windows 10 upgrade package. What an upgrade package is it's the content off of a DVD, the DVD or the ISO. It's everything that you would get on that file. It includes the image, but it's just the default media, okay? And this is the only really dependency. It's the only thing that you need in order to deploy an upgrade. There's no other tools that are required. So once you have that imported, you create a task sequence. Now, for those of you that are using Config Manager today to deploy operating systems, the task sequence is the engine that does all that. It's the process that runs through all the steps that are needed. And so we're leveraging that same capability, that same technology, to deliver the upgrade scenario. And you can see here now we have the option to upgrade an operating system. So as I step through this to create the task sequence, some standard options here to name it. I choose the media that I'm going to use. It shows me the details about that. And then I get some very basic and standard options in terms of, do I want to install updates? And I could install applications after I've upgraded to Windows 10, so I'll use the awesome Microsoft Math application. And that's it. I can create this task sequence. And at this point, I have a task sequence created, and I'm ready to deploy it out to some systems. It's using all the same technologies that we have, all the same method that we have for deploying task sequences and monitoring them and reporting against that. So I just want to take a real quick look at what's going on here so you can get a sense of what we're doing. It's a very simple task sequence out of the box. We've got a new step here to actually upgrade the operating system, add some drivers if it's needed. Once the system performs the upgrade, you can see here the steps that I added during the wizard to install updates as well as install an application. And we have the ability also to manage the state of the system in case it rolls back. So Windows Setup has the ability to detect any problems during the upgrade process. And if something goes wrong, it's very resilient, and it'll actually bring the system back to a working state on the down-level system. And so we then have the ability to hook into that and add some extra steps during the task sequence if needed. So that's a real quick look at this. If you come to my session tomorrow at 5 o'clock, about half of that session is devoted specifically on upgrade, and I'll go into a lot more detail in this task sequence and all the good stuff that we're adding in vNext. So thanks for the time, and I'll hand it back to Jeremy.
Okay. Yeah, appreciate it.
Thanks.
Make sure you come to his sessions. All right, so then next when we think about provisioning in the private cloud, this is really where we sit, for us, Hyper-V and Virtual Machine Manager. So this is kind of the core of how we think about how we do templates, how we handle your virtualization space, how we think about these all up in our private cloud. So to bring this, I'm going to have our GPM, Eric Winter, who's been a part of VMM from the very, very beginning. And let's go ahead and run us through a little bit of what's next and show us a demo.
Yep, sure. Thanks, Jeremy.
Yep.
I'm going to show a couple demos today. One I'm going to show is new features we added in Update Rollup 6, which released last Thursday. So if you haven't installed it yet, I'm going to give you a couple good reasons to install the Update Rollup for VMM. And as far as what's coming in 2016, we have three main areas of focus in Virtual Machine Manager in 2016. One is ease of use, specifically to simplify the networking configuration. We know networking by itself is hard. We're trying not to make it any harder. So we're going to do some investments to simplify networking. We're also simplifying the process of going through some of our Virtual Machine Manager wizards for operating system deployment, specifically making those experiences the same, whether you're provisioning Hyper-V clusters or scale-out file servers. Another area of investment for us is around security and infrastructure. Hyper-V in 2016 is delivering a virtual TPM, and Virtual Machine Manager is plugging into that and delivering guarded host and shielded VM lifecycle management. And then we're also expanding our fabric management, and I'm going to show you a little bit about how we have, in the tech preview you're about to get, in VMM, you can manage the storage spaces direct feature that's in the Windows Server tech preview. And I think it's the first time we've ever delivered a preview build at the same time as Windows, managing the same feature set as Windows is delivering. We've worked very hard to plan together, to align the engineering, and to ship it to you together so there's no more use Windows PowerShell for the next month or two till you get the System Center drop. We're really aligning on that, and hopefully that'll make your experiences better. So let me run you through that real quick. Okay, right here you see the Virtual Machine Manager 2012 R2 UR6 console, and what you're seeing is a set of virtual machines that are running in Azure. So we've delivered a feature in the console to let you add your Azure subscription to Virtual Machine Manager so you can start managing your hybrid cloud, the VMs in your data center, as well as your VMs running in Azure. In addition, when I select here in the compute area, this VM's running in my data center, Amazon also delivered a UI plugin leveraging the Virtual Machine Manager extensibility. So from the single console, you can see all your on-premise VMs running in Hyper-V or VMware, and all your cloud VMs, whether they're running in Azure or EC2. So it's really the single console where you can see that hybrid infrastructure, all your VMs, no matter where they're running. You can RDP to them. You can start and stop them. You can see in the Amazon plugin, they've even allowed you to author VMs from the on-premise console directly into Amazon. So we think this is going to get a lot of features. The features here came because people got on user voice and asked for Amazon or for Azure management in VMM. And that's really the genesis of this feature came about because of that. So this is all UR6. You can download and install it and start using it today. Now I'm going to switch to our 2016 console. Everything I'm going to show you is in our preview build that'll be out, as Jeremy said, later this week. Here I'm going to show you how to create a new Spaces Direct cluster. And actually, I don't even need to leave this screen. The only change we made to the cluster creation wizard was this extra radio button option. So instead of using shared storage, you just say, I'd like to use the new Spaces Direct feature. Everything else you know about VMM for creating storage clusters is the exact same as R2. So we've made this really simple. And then when you go to create your pools of storage, you just right-click. This is a Spaces Direct server. We've gotten a lot of rich information in here. Here I have to type a little bit. So that when you drop into the pool creation, now you can see we brought all of the hardware information, the node that is running, the type of media, as well as the enclosure location. So you can use this to create pools that have SSDs and regular hard drives in them together, leveraging all of the tiered storage features within storage spaces, all from within VMM Tech Preview, running against the Windows Server Tech Preview. And this are the types of investments we're trying to invest in: simplicity and aligning with server features in the 2016 wave. Thanks, Jeremy.
Thanks, Eric. Okay. Good job. Vlad. So what you just saw with one of the things that Eric on that hybrid capability, reaching out to the heterogeneous side of it. This is something we're putting in each of the components as we really start to think through how your hybrid world works, and really just allowing you to start from the on-premises management that you already have. So then we're going to flip over. I've already seen the demo. To monitoring. SCOM. One of the core components you use as you think about the overall health of your environment. And so this is what we've done here is really made sure that over the past we've really engineered something that can be customized in a variety of different ways, as well as just give you your basic monitoring. It's impressive to see the amount of customization that we've seen. Massive scales, 40,000 server farms. We're seeing mass Linux farms now. We're seeing organizations start to unify around this and even bigger between their Linux and their server. Heck, we're even seeing security cameras being monitored where they're picking up events and dropping into their SCOM. So we've built an engine that really allows you to really go through and leverage what you need. And that's one of those tweaks when you're thinking about how do I use SCOM? It's just an engine that you can really, really stretch as far as you think you need it to go. So to bring that up is Nagender, GPM on Point Operations Manager, and he's going to walk us through a little bit. Thanks.
Hi. So as we think about the investments that we're making in System Center Operations Manager, I want you to think about the different pivots that we are making those investments on. First of all, features to stay current with Windows Server and System Center. That's what you see here in terms of Windows Server vNext, Windows storage, some of the stuff that Eric showed you. We've got some innovations in terms of Storage Spaces Direct monitoring as management pack. We're also investing in our Linux and the LAMP stack monitoring, so we've enhanced our Linux capability as well. We have added an Azure management pack to go across the hybrid cloud, etc., and then get and use Operations Manager to monitor your Azure infrastructure as well. So there's a whole range of features that we're doing, specifically with workload monitoring with Office 365, Exchange, Azure, and so on. Staying current with Windows Server, with storage spaces monitoring. A lot of features in the infrastructure on the UR cadence with the releases that we're doing with the update rollups. So you'll see things that come in place with respect to discoverability for your management packs. You'll see features on scheduled maintenance mode, taking objects that are within your monitoring infrastructure and then putting them on a schedule for maintenance. You'll also see some other things that we're doing with respect to enhanced visualization and dashboarding within Operations Manager. And we're also expanding from within the Operations Manager console the ability for you to get and try partner solutions that are available in the market today. So you can try with these early versions of partner solutions right from within Operations Manager so that you can see the breadth of what OM can do. So in order to show you all this, I'm going to just show you a few of the features. So this is Operations Manager looking at the storage subsystem and storage spaces. So we built a new management pack to monitor storage health. Here you see storage subsystems, the file shares, the various volumes, and alerts, etc., that result from that. So in order to make this work, we're just going to go to PowerShell. We're going to run a command to stop one of the cluster nodes. Let me minimize that. And then lo and behold, an alert will show up inside Operations Manager. Right? So select the alert. You see what's going on. We say the server could not be reached. And let's go back. Start that node. And then the alert disappeared. So this is basically monitoring of storage spaces directly within Operations Manager. You can also look at a diagram view of your storage spaces system. So we'll see the clustered Windows servers, the pools of servers that are underneath, as well as the volumes that reside within that. So for my second demo, I'd like to show you our Unix and Linux capabilities. So as you know, we already have Unix, Linux capability within Operations Manager in terms of management packs. We've expanded that to include the entire LAMP stack. So here you can see on the console in monitoring Apache. You can see performance data with respect to that. You can also look at MySQL and so on. So here you see an alert, a warning. Selecting that warning, I can look at additional knowledge. This says that there's a SSL certificate that's going to expire soon. I look at the details of the alerts. I see that the error threshold has been set so that I get an error at 7, and I get a warning at 21 days. I can also look at an overview of all the things that are happening with my Apache servers, top 20 requests that we have, unhealthy Apache servers, virtual hosts, and so on. All these are all part of the new LAMP management pack that we've built. So I select one of those requests, I scroll down, and I can see all the constituent components of that particular object. I can look at all the HTTP servers. I can look at virtual hosts. I can look at SSL certificates. I can look at performance data. I can look at virtual host error rates, virtual host performance, response times, and so on. How are we doing on time there? That's it? All right. I have a session on Friday at 12 o'clock with a detailed drill down into OM. There's a whole range of features that we haven't been able to show you today, so I really encourage you to attend and see. There's a lot of innovation going into Operations Manager, and you'll be really glad to see what we're doing for the monitoring infrastructure.
All right, thank you. Yep. You know, we're going to do two or three more, just specific on your 2012 R2, and then we're going to jump over to the cloud services. So we wanted to make sure, one of the feedback that we got and the things when I was walking through the room as well is just tell us about the components that we're seeing inside System Center. Okay, so on SM, real quick on this is where it's our service management platform. We really are leveraging heavily on the platform that we have today. You're going to see us continue to do the URs like we've been saying. And we're going to jump right to the demo on this to show you how we do the self-service. So we're just going to go straight into demo. The other thing that I'd throw inside on this is, again, our partners. This is something that we think we've got a great ecosystem of partners that were helping us with this, and this is where we're going to continue to bet with them. You're going to see them on the new UI experiences. You're going to see them package the components together, and you're also going to see overall them with their consulting services to help get this in, because we also recognize it takes a bit of process consulting to do this versus just a product out of the box. So, okay, let's go give us a view on the self-service.
Okay. So, hello. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Srikanth Ranganathan, and what I'm going to show today, it's very consistent with what Jeremy, Nagender, and others have been talking about. One, multi-cloud is a reality. Heterogeneous operating systems are another reality. You saw Eric demonstrate how to bring the fabric. We saw Nagender how to monitor the health of those fabric. And today I'll be focusing on how to actually land. We do all these things to land workloads. And these workloads, how can they actually be done within the process and the compliance and the governance? And I'll actually show a quick demo. And if time permits, I'll talk a little bit more, but let me just get started. The first thing that you do, it's Service Manager, as you all know, it's powered, it's got the CMDB, it's got the process engines. We are leveraging our partners heavily in order to light up the user experience on top of that and bringing all the capabilities of the System Center stack. So what I'm about to show you today, it's very quickly, we actually enable self-service requests, which is very consistent with what others actually do, but with a difference here. What you see on this screen here is a set of service request offerings that are powered by Service Manager, but actually exposed through this WAP UX layer powered by GridPro, which is a partner in this particular process. So on the left-hand side, I, as an admin, have exposed a set of services for my developer. And then actually I can have a whole bunch of services that span both hybrid clouds as well as Azure in this particular case. And let's just quickly talk about IaaS. And in this particular instance, I've enabled a set of features on top of IaaS, and I'll go ahead and request a virtual machine. What I want to impress with you is ability to go back and self-service or request anything from any of the portals today. It's not a big deal, it's a given. What's interesting here is the fact that you really want some amount of control. Central ID is actually stepping up and bringing some of these things as a control offering. We wanted to make it easier. We want to put some guardrails. And that's what I wanted to focus here. And this is completely user-authored, VCBig authoring in terms of enabling these services. It's a set of service questions that you decide and smart defaults that you enable for your end users based on your needs. So let's talk about it very quickly. This is... let's say this is for development purposes. You come back and ask this question. The rest of the set of questions and answers and the processes are all driven out of this question. Because the development is enabled in your organization across both private and public clouds, this becomes a choice. It's a very consistent set of experience. Let's talk about, assume that you actually decided to do a production scenario here. And maybe in your organization, because of your regulatory reasons or because you're not fully prepared, the choice of having this land on Azure is currently not enabled in the system. Once you become comfortable, you actually enable that happen. So let's go back and then let's choose development again. So my choice as a developer, I can actually do private and public clouds. So this brings up a whole set of things suddenly enable controlled by IT. Now, one of the other things that the service catalog already enables is what I would call as approved content. If suddenly your developers are exposed to hundreds of images that you can't support later on, it becomes a pain for you. So you really want to go back and put guardrails on a set of images that you think you can support, and the developers are actually going to leverage that. And that's what you can see here. And as Eric and Nagender and Eamon and others have already emphasized, this is a multi-cloud, multi-OS scenario. So I'm going to go pick one of these things here. So it's possible. So we also go back and do some client validation just to make sure that these images don't end up later on in a different scenario. You also put some guardrails on the network. So the developer doesn't have to really worry about all these things. It's a couple of clicks away, and then they have a system that's running according to your business needs and compliant that you can control this later on. This, looking at under the hood, we are leveraging the entire System Center stack to make it happen. Even is going to talk about automation, and this is Service Manager working with Runbook Service Management Automation to actually automate the whole process and enable. So the Runbook that you see here is what I just kicked off, which is going to land this VM and on our own VMM cloud right now. So with that, I'll probably close. I have a session on Friday where I'll go into much more deeper details. I'd really request you to attend for that. So, Eamon.
Okay, thank you, Shrikant. So the key piece of why we're talking about Service Manager in this way is as you're starting to think about how you build your private clouds, and you're starting to use this technology today, this is a base that can be used for that. We showed the service delivery of a self-request. There's many other solutions you can use, whether it's IT assets or your ITSM traditional help desk. Okay, so let's jump over to Orchestrator and give a quick view of what we're doing on our automation.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Yep.
So as you know, Orchestrator, I was looking over here and just how much effort and how many components everyone has to manage, and all you guys are inside your own data center. And then you think about not just what we're delivering with System Center and Windows Server, and then all the other management systems that you have in your environment, and then all the heterogeneous environments you have. And so how do you really actually try to bring all those together and deliver that end service that what we're all really trying to do is deliver end-to-end services to our consumers. And so those might be internal or external. So that's really what Orchestrator has been about, and it's going to continue to be about as we invest going forward. So as Jeremy mentioned, if you're doing all the traditional data center, Orchestrator is shipping in vNext, and we're continuing to make investments and improvements to actually make sure Orchestrator meets those needs. The big feature we did in R2 was Service Management Automation. And so hopefully some of you are starting to use that, especially if you start looking at the Windows Azure Pack. And that's the capability I'm going to show. You saw Shrikant show that in the demo. I'm going to kind of show you what that can be used for behind the scenes. But the overall goal about this is that was a big change for us because we moved towards PowerShell workflow as our core engine. And it just unlocked a lot of potential on really doing scale automation and scale integration. So it's definitely something to look at if you haven't looked at it. And you'll see it in the next version of System Center again. And then next kind of the improvements we're doing, you can see on the right-hand side, there's a whole list of improvements we're working on right now. And what we've really done, some of you know, is we have a service Azure Automation, which we can kind of see here, is basically what we did is we picked up Service Management Automation that we shipped in R2, and then we brought it into Azure. And the whole goal about that was we wanted to be able to not just do all the automation on premises, but do it in the cloud. But the real goal of that, too, was we wanted to innovate quickly. You know, Jeremy talked about how quickly the team innovates. All of these features you see on the right-hand side, you're going to start to see these come out over the next month. But we're going to put them into the cloud so then we can actually validate them with your help and then bring the ones that make sense down. Like the biggest request we got was, if you're going to bring that to the cloud, we need to be able to connect our data center and manage it all. And so that's really where the hybrid worker, and you'll see that later on. But let me jump into the demo just to kind of show you the power of Service Management Automation on premises, built on PowerShell workflow, and how you can actually leverage that to actually integrate all of the System Center components. But it doesn't really matter. If you have other management systems, you can also do those. Okay, so I think there's one that just got created. So what was happening there, probably behind the scenes, you didn't notice, Shrikant went through and you selected all that different variety that you as the IT organization has offered out to your end user. But the goal about that really is it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. And so that's where you get to define what those policies are using our automation platform inside Service Management Automation. And so if I click into here, hopefully a lot of you have started to look at this, particularly if you're using the clouds. But what we've done is we've actually enabled PowerShell authoring inside of the Windows Azure Pack portal. And so it allows you to do all of your authoring here, or you can use the ISE, but then you can centralize all of that inside of a highly available service with Service Management Automation and leverage all of your PowerShell skills you have in your organization already. So anybody who's familiar with PowerShell and PowerShell workflow, you can actually stop putting the scripts and all the shares, bring it in here, and then integrate automated delivery of those services backed by your own portal, by the portal you just saw Shrikant show, or any other thing you want to do inside your environment. And it's all about trying to integrate systems together and deliver that automated value. I won't go through this because I know there's a lot of time, but the thing to take away from here is there's a big investment going on around automation all up inside of Microsoft right now. You're going to start to see it as you get more and more environments you have to manage. And so there's a strong product here that's shipped in R2. It's been enhanced as we go forward, both in service management automation, inside of Orchestrator, and then actually validation of those services up in the cloud as well. So it's definitely something, if you haven't tried out, I would start to looking at this because it's going to unlock a lot of potential to actually deliver those end services that we're all really going after. So with that, I'm going to switch back, and Jeremy's going to
Perfect.
kind of go forward with our work.
So the next area is, let's give him a round of applause. The amount of power.
Everyone else said it. The session I have, if you want to go deeper dive into what we're doing, is on Friday. I'm with Jeffrey Snover looking at Windows Server automation and System Center Azure automation all up. What we're doing now and what we're doing in vNext. So if you can make that session on Friday, it'd be great, and we'll go deeper dive into all these areas.
Yeah, I mean, I think just the amount of PowerShell integration we've put into automation has just been really allowed the flexibility of the automation that's out there. And we're seeing a ton of uptake just on the amount of usage on that capability. So now we're going to jump in. Last piece on the System Center side is DPM. And when we think about DPM, this is all about protection and availability, just on bringing your workloads and keeping them safe and sound. So we've got VJ here who's going to walk you through a couple things on vNext and a quick demo.
Yes, thank you, Jeremy. This is Vijay. I'm a program manager in the data protection team. Welcome for the session. So I have just a few things I want to touch base because there's a lot of functionality we are delivering over the last year and year and a half. So last year, a lot of our focus has been on private cloud protection. You know, having a great story. So last year, a lot of focus was on having a great story for private cloud protection, which is including the hypervisor, the virtual machine protection, the deduplication, and all of those technologies, pulling it all together for a great story for private cloud protection. In 2015, we actually are making investments in 3 key areas. One is about having a great connectivity story for Azure, right? Having a great story for data protection to go from all the way from on-premises to Azure, or it's about protecting workloads that are running in Azure. So truly going hybrid, starting from DPM all the way to Azure. That's one of the key areas that we are making investments. The second key area we're making investments is about making sure that as the Windows Server platform matures and kind of innovates, the data protection just follows that. You know, things like making sure that we're able to protect virtual machines that are shielded, making sure that we have a great story where we can protect virtual machines that are running in a nano server environment, things like that. You know, we keep making investments in the DPM product. And the third key area that I want to highlight is really about expanding our scope of workload support, right? So as you guys know, we actually did a lot of work to make sure that we have a great story with Microsoft workloads, hypervisor, the Hyper-V workloads, Microsoft SQL Server, SharePoint, and Exchange. But now I actually want to show you something very cool that we're about to launch is the support for VMware VM Backup right from the same DPM console. So here I have a DPM setup, and I'm just about to create a new protection group. Okay, so let me just go browse to the set of servers that I have, and here I'm showing you a IP address which is really a VMware ESX host. And here I can select the set of virtual machines that I want to protect for my backup. And I can choose the set of virtual machines. And you notice that all the capabilities that you can get for protecting your Hyper-V virtual machines, you get the same consistent experience to protect your VMware ESX VMs also. So you can protect your workloads to disk, you can protect them to tape, and also you can protect the data to Azure, just like how you protect your VMs from Hyper-V. Okay? And not only that, wherever we have opportunity to make it even better for ESX, we're actually doing that work. For instance, we're making it agentless data protection. So we don't have to deploy any agent on the VMware ESX host to do the data protection. Secondly, if we need to protect at a folder level where you can say, I want to protect the folder, the entire folder, the VM folder, any VMs that get added to the folder can automatically be protected by BPM. Okay, so that's the demo, and I'll switch back to Jeremy.
Great.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, VJ. If I can get this to flip. Perfect. So what we just talked about is, all in all, we just talked about the on-premises side of System Center, the core components that we've had, the core components that are 2012 R2, and that we continue to push forward, and what's coming in 2016. Now, the value for those, when you think about all the other components, is we deliver those as a suite. And one of the new things that we've just launched is the Operations Management Suite, which is really tailored towards, right there, Microsoft Operations Management Suite, tailored towards services, brought all of those together. And so instead of having to go out and individually find the core services, we're packaging these services together with a single sign-on experience, single unified experience, and the real goal here is for us, as we start down that path of providing it from the cloud. Now, this complements, you can see multiple times where they're starting to use services, and we cut one of the scenarios that you could see SCOM from, well, I think we did show SCOM from being able to do AWS and the manager packs for Azure, but that allows us to reach out from the on-premises. This is able to reach from the cloud to your cloud environments and back down. And so we've done core components like the analytics we talked about before. We've done core components like the automation, the availability work, and then we've also added some work for security around the security logs. And this is part of just that overall roadmap where we're headed together. So we're going to just really just allow the overall demo to talk for itself. This is what I just covered. We're going to cover how this looks like from the service itself. We're going to just dive in and do the quick walkthrough. We're going to probably spend a good 15 minutes just in this, walking you through what's coming from the cloud. Now remember, this is from the cloud to your on-premises or whatever environment else is out there. So hey guys, let's come on forward and rock through the demo. Joe Chan is going to start, right? Perfect.
Yep. Okay, thank you. Thanks,
You
Jeremy.
bet, buddy.
All right, so how many people have seen the OMS demo, keynote demo on Monday? Hold on a second. Let me just capture on this on video. All right. How many people love it? Clap your hands. Woo! This is awesome. Thank you. Now, how many people are going to sign up? Raise your hand high. All right. Oh, that's good. That's still good. Okay, thank you. Now, this is going to give our engineers a lot of good encouragement, and they're going to give you more good stuff faster. I'm going to stop recording at this moment and just give you a word of warning. I have been notified there was a live site going on. So we'll see what happens, okay? It was just 5 minutes ago. Now, hopefully...
I like the stress.
Yes. I was literally just ironing with my engineers right now. Looks like Azure ran into something, so we'll see. Okay, so this is the OMS website. Just remember the following URLs. Really simple to remember. It's Microsoft.com/OMS. Anyone can remember it, right? Yeah. The free trial is free for anyone to try, and there's no expiration date on it. So there's a limit on how much data you can send, and there's a limitation of how long you can actually retrieve the data with the free trial, but you can use it for as long as you want. There's no risk. So I would urge you to just try as soon as possible. Okay, so just to recap what OMS is. OMS stands for Operations Management Suite. It is a solution that provides a whole collection of IT operations solutions that helps you manage your data centers no matter where it is, whether it's on-premise, whether it is in AWS, whether it is running in Azure, we got it covered. And we cover every platform, whether it's Windows or Linux, we want to take care of you. And so it's truly hybrid, designed from the ground up. Now, the foundation of OMS is two core capabilities. One is Insight, being able to see what's going on is really important. It helps you find out what's happening to make informed decision. But once you got insight, what you need to do is take action. And my colleague, Eamon over here, is going to come up later to show you how automation can help you take control of your environment through the automation service. All right. So to get into OMS, you can simply click on Sign in here. And this would be the overview page. Now, I loaded this up earlier, so I'm actually afraid to refresh it right now, just so that you can actually take a look at all of the great solutions that we have. And so you can see that we have a whole variety of different solutions in here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do this trick. I'm going to log on. I'll log on again on a different tile, on a different tab. Just so that if I can talk over this, I can still reference this. All right, so this is the reality right now, okay? So we got some tiles that are out, but I know that my key search capability is still running. So let me see. Go back to my personal dashboard. Please give me something. Yes! Okay, we still got data, okay? My search engine is still running. All right, so this is the personal dashboard where you can actually pull different searches into your environment. This is a great place to start where you can build up your personal insights into your environment, okay? So I got a couple of tiles running on here that are related to my web server business. So I can see that for my web server, for my website right here. I only got one. What is the average response time? I can look at the total log entries that's been occurring in the last couple of days. You can see that I got some peak on May 3rd. And then these are the log entries just for the 200 response status that I'm getting. Now, it's actually interesting. If I look at the total log entries comparing to the 200, you can see that these are in the thousands range, and that this is in the tens range, right? So I'm not actually doing too well right now. Everything is actually like returning an error. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the all log entries search right here, right, where I'm looking at all of the log entries across the last couple of days. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to group by the status code. So what the search engine is doing is going back to look at all of those results that, by the way, I have about 500 million log entries in this account right now, okay? And to zoom down into specific details, it just takes seconds. It's just so fast. And we're able to pull different data types, no matter the data format, where it comes from, putting it all into a single search experience where you can access all of these data. Okay, so now one thing that is interesting to me is that I'm getting a 404 right here, which is basically, page not found, and I got thousands of these entries in here, which is not normal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill into this and see what's going on in here, okay? Well, I'm looking through it. It looks like it's pretty hard to read, so the next thing I'm going to do is look at the client IP, group by the client IP. So to look at who is actually accessing my pages and is getting the 404. Looks like majority of the hits is coming from this particular IP address. So that is really weird, right? This guy is scanning my web servers and is trying to see, looking for resources that are not found. And so if you're interested in this type of scenario, here's a shameless plug. I got a session on Thursday at 1:30 p.m. We're going to go deep down the full hour on threat analytics specifically, right? Where I'm going to give you tons of demos around this stuff. I'm sure there'll be no live site issue at that time. And we're going to go through a lot of different scenarios on how you can use the insight capabilities in OMS to help you reveal more insights around the security of your environment. Okay, so I've been talking about, IIS logs, which is all good, is Windows, but we've been mentioning about, hybrid scenario, right? So we want to cover any cloud. What about AWS? Well, I got that covered. So here is my AWS scenario. It's not a big scenario, okay? I got about 1 VM right here. I don't want to give Amazon too much money. It's got this running right here. So it's got AWS Elysian. I don't drink too much beer, but Vlad set this up. I got a rule where in my environment everything has to be food and drink related. So it was all my machines, either bacon or waffle, and now beer. I actually got a feedback in TechEd group that I should name it beer. Okay, so we're going to go back, and I'm going to see if I can get into the tile here. Oh, I can, nope, no data. Okay, all right, so I'm going to have to rely on search. Let's go back to search. And what I'm going to do is the following. I have a bunch of saved searches here. Save searches on change tracking, okay? So let's look at change tracking. All Windows services changes. Let's see if I look up this query, if the AWS server would come up in my data collection, okay? So what this query is doing is looking at all of the configuration changes around my Windows services processes that is running on all my boxes, okay? And let's help it out and just look at the last day. All right, so we got something back. And the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to group by computer. There's my computer. Group by computer, okay? Don't worry, it's just thinking. Okay, and I suspect that I have less changes around. Oh, there's my AWS Elysian, okay? So we're tracking changes whether your system is running on-premise or in AWS, and there's my machine there. We can, whoops, sorry, I don't want anyone to get sick. Just looking at that spinning around. And I'm going to go into the AWS machine and just take a quick look at the changes that we have been tracking. And so you get a lot of details on what's going on in here. All right, so we have covered AWS. What about Linux? Well, we have just released our support for syslog collection from Azure Linux VMs. This past week. We're going to be working really hard to provide first-class support for Linux because we love Linux. You have saw, Nagender presenting on, kind of like the new cross-platform support earlier in OM, and we even love Linux more in OMS. So let's take a look at my environment right here and look for anything of type equals to syslog. Syslog right here. Okay. Syslog data. Okay, I'm getting a bunch of syslog data in here, right? And so I'm running out of time, so I'm just going to prove to you that these machines are real. So I'm just going to group by computers. These looks like syslog events, right? Okay, so I'm going to group by computer. Group by computer. Okay, all right, we're seeing the computer here, okay? And so I'm going to go into Azure. This machine is running in Azure right now, and you can see that the operating system is indeed Linux. So hopefully this is a good overview for you on the Insight capabilities. We have our overview session on Insight at on Thursday, 9 a.m. So we've got two sessions, right? One is on security at 1:30, and one is on 9 a.m. on Thursday. So I hope you can come to that session and get more out of it. Thank you.
You're all right. Okay, so I know we have a few minutes. I'm going to kind of jump in and really show you, with OMS, we have kind of those four capabilities you saw Jeremy walk through. But a lot of the two we're showing today is the log search and all the capabilities built on top of that. And I'm going to show you the automation. But really, those two things together is really what adds a lot of value inside the OMS suite, because you want to be able to see what's going on and then take action. So I'm going to kind of walk you through how that might work. So I'm going to leverage search as well, since we know that is up. So I'm just going to go in, and I'm going to look inside of here for some queries. So I saved a query myself earlier, which is web server unavailable. And so you can basically see that this web server is unavailable in here, and you can drill in and figure out what's going on with that. But what I'm going to actually go back, So you can see there's a machine down, and you might want to take some action on that. So
I want everyone just to realize real quick. Notice it just logged in. Remember I talked live site? Our engineers have been spinning back up. She's back.
That's awesome.
Joe's over here. Literally, as Joe sat down, I grabbed over and hit F5 again, and you could see that that one piece came right back up. So, you know what, we've got, like I said at the very beginning, our engineers are used to live site, just like many of you are, and up and running. So we'll see how that holds on this, but carry on.
Okay. I'm going to open up the portal. So what you saw inside of OMS, we have actually automation tile as well. So we're going to be enhancing this over the next several months. But what you'll see right now is actually it pulls in all of our Azure automation, which I'm going to go into, service capabilities inside of OMS, so you have visibility into what's happening inside of OMS. And inside of here, you can go create runbooks, browse the marketplace, configure. But at the moment, what it'll do is it'll bring you into our brand new portal that we've, well, at least Azure Automation is now in the new portal inside of Azure. So if you've tried Azure Automation, has anybody tried Azure Automation? Awesome. I'm hoping a lot of you will actually try it now, because what we've added is some hybrid worker, and I'm going to show you how that works inside of our experience. So inside of here, all runbooks you're familiar with, very similar to what Service Management Automation was, or Orchestrator. What I'm going to show you one is called Monitor OMS IIS Servers. And so remember that server that I saw through search that was down inside of OMS? What you can actually do inside of here now is actually go, and from here you can actually say, I want to monitor all of these servers in a certain domain. I wrote this runbook, I'm going to show it to you. And then I want to look for a service. So I'm going to look for the W3 SVC service. And if that one is not working, I'm just going to restart it, because that might be the first remediation action that you want to take. And so what we've had before this week, only launched literally on Monday, is we only had the ability to run everything inside of Azure. Now you have the ability to actually run it inside your own environment. So all of the automation you have up in Azure Automation can actually run now inside your own data center and orchestrate all of those things you have inside your data center. And I'm going to show you how that works. So you just put in a hybrid worker inside your environment. It gets deployed through OMS. And then you can actually specify different groups of these hybrid workers inside your environment. And then you'll just click OK. What I'm going to show you inside of here is actually one I just did for that job that I ran earlier. I know we only got a couple of minutes left, but I'm going to jump in here. And so this was a job. I think I kicked it off at, 5:07. So I was waiting over here. I just kicked off this job so we would have one. You can see it actually completed. And if I see the output, I can see there's a list of servers affected with that server I just saw back in log search. And I can tell from the streams what actions were taken. So I can see I logged who took it, and then I said I'm sending results to service desk. So I'm going to do 1 minute here, and later I just want to show you what it looks like, because actually this is probably the biggest thing you're going to see, is we actually have graphical authoring inside of Azure Automation. So this is up there now. I really encourage you to try it out. If you're familiar with Orchestrator, you'll get familiar with this very quickly. This allows you all of your graphical authoring and all of your PowerShell authoring directly inside the service, and you can have runbooks called runbooks, which I do today. So this quick example, you can see, I actually just getting my credentials to OMS. I'm logging them out just so I have, that was the user you saw, that was Scorch at Microsoft.com. Then I authenticate against OMS. And how do I do that? I wrote a little module, PowerShell module, that integrates into the API that OMS just launched. And so now I can integrate, and that's how I'm actually getting all those search results. So that query, I can actually go, I can authenticate, and then I can search OMS and give me the results of those servers or anything that OMS has inside of its log search, and now I can go take action on this. And this module, I literally just wrote, it's just a wrapper around some PowerShell, and I imported that module into the system. So this is that integration piece. You can integrate into any system and orchestrate any system using this, because either there's a module available, which there's thousands of, as you know, with PowerShell, or you can write your own like I just did before this API that just came out. So all of these are shipping inside of here. And you can see I just get the workspace, I get the subscription, I search for the alerts, I log out the results here, I can configure them, return results, I wait for everything to finish, and then I call restart runbook. And so this is a textual PowerShell-based runbook that actually goes and restarts the service on that hybrid worker if it finds any of those services aren't working. And then I have another runbook to say, okay, what actions did I take? And you can notify your service desk. So this could be Service Manager you saw earlier. It could be your own CMDB. It could be ServiceNow. It could be any other one, because we can integrate into all those systems and actually allow you to do end-to-end automation, remediation, provisioning inside graphical authoring and textual-based authoring. Cool. And if you want to see a deep dive on all this, there's a whole session we're doing on graphical authoring, hybrid. We have PowerShell DSC support inside of this service now. So I'd encourage you to look. There's a session on Thursday. Just look for Azure Automation, and you're going to go deeper dive. There's like 5 or 6 big features that we have that hopefully you'll be able to use, not just in Azure, but on your data center through that hybrid worker.
Okay, two more quick demos. Everyone, I know I'm standing in between you and beer. Let's do 2 more real quick.
Yeah.
EJ.
Is it on? Okay.
Yep, you're on.
All right, cool. Yeah, so I talked about how DPM has been investing in trying to integrate the data to Azure through Azure Backup. Now here we are going to show you something about how we've done the work to integrate Azure Backup and Azure Site Recovery with the whole OMS suite. So here I have a quick lens that I can see here. I have backup showing up. I have like 13 servers that I've registered with the Azure Backup, and I'm backing up like 64 gigabytes of data. And for the ASR, or the Azure Site Recovery, I've registered 2 VMM servers to the Azure Site Recovery. And through the OMS portal, I can actually see a single view where I can manage all my operations across my backup and Azure Site Recovery. So if I click on the backup pane, I can see that there are 13 servers that are registered. I can click on the server tab, and it'll launch me the Azure portal, the Azure Backup portal, where I can manage my not only my on-premises backup to Azure, but also backup of virtual machines that are running in Azure to Azure. Okay, so this is loading up, so I can just switch to the other window here. So I have a bunch of Azure Backup vaults and Azure Site Recovery vaults that I've created. I can quickly drill down. I can see all the registered VMs that are part of the Azure Backup Vault. I can see a list of protected items that are already protected, and some of them are healthy and they have been associated and they have a recovery point that was created today. Then I have the jobs drilled down. I can see all the jobs that were run as part of my Azure Backup. You can filter them by completed jobs. I can look at the in-progress jobs. So I don't have anything running right now, but I can just switch to completed. I can do a time slice based on the type of jobs that I want to monitor. Then let me switch quickly to Azure Site Recovery. So Azure Site Recovery is another sister service that allows you to do disaster recovery. So Azure Backup is all about backup, and Azure Site Recovery is about doing DR. So in DR world, we actually talk about multiple scenarios. So we talk about enterprise DR, so we can do a DR from your on-premises data center 1 to another data center 2, or you can do DR from your on-premises to Azure, and you can also allow this DR capability to work for your not just your Hyper-V workloads, but also for your physical workloads and for your VMware workloads. So let me quickly drill into that. Here I have Azure Site Recovery Vault, and I can drill down to the protection groups. And if I click on that, I can see that there are a bunch of VMs that are added to the protection group. I can add more virtual machines to that. And you can notice that not only I'm able to see the Hyper-V VMs, but I can also protect my vCenter VMs here. I can just pick them and get started with the protection, or I can start doing DR. So what effectively we have in the backup and ASR product is not only can you protect your physical and Hyper-V workloads, but you can also protect your VMware workloads to Azure, right? So that's a pretty cool technology. And not only that, now we're making sure that we're kind of not only spreading within Microsoft workloads, but also expanding to heterogeneous workloads, right? Things like Linux VMs, and VMware VMs. So that's really the whole power of bringing all these services together in the OMS portal. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Vijay. Okay. So again, as we sit, I'm going to wrap up for you. Thank you for hanging out there with us as long. You'll have many more sessions to walk through each of these core areas. If you want to flip me to my slides, sorry, but we'll walk through these solutions that we just had, the solution packs and the other elements in the other sessions. So please make sure you hit the Op Insight session. Clicker is right here. The core thing I want you to see real quick is just, we've started with what you saw as the core foundation. We've got a pipeline of things that are already in flight right now that are coming through. We've got some that are in private preview. Others are just starting. But over the course of the next 3 months, 6 months, year, and on, we're going to continue to rev on these capabilities like you've been seeing. So we'll start to integrate further. You'll start to see further these components come together. You'll see us start to do alerting, inventory, even more additional work with Linux. One of the things we just talked about with the automation is we have support for Linux through DSC now, as of last week. You notice we talk about as of last week, or as of yesterday, right? This is just how our services are going to unfold, and we're not choosing to wait till it's perfect, because it never will be. We're going to continue to rev and get you those new features. So anyway, with that said, I'd say start using the services, attend the sessions. Please take the time with my teams as they start to go look for surveys and feedback and content. And I just appreciate all the time that you stuck through towards the end. And have a great rest of your show.